Memes are the most decentralized form of communication, giving way to creating ideas and cultural phenomenon in the matter of hours. As meme culture is entering its most popular and most influential, I'm starting to see a trend pop up about stealing memes and stealing ideas for memes, which usually ends up as a discussion below a tweet or a video. While this isn't a pandemic, the sentiments echoed about ownership over memes is misconstrued. While I can go into the easy arguments about how the way memes are shared that make ownership of them impossible, I want to use memes as a vehicle to talk about intellectual property. More specific, how intellectual property as a concept in the internet age is not only hard to define, but somewhat of an obsolete institution. I'm going to acknowledge a big problem with my argument right off the bat here and talk about what labor goes into creating these things and what they may tangibly hold. Regardless of how infinitesimal, creating a meme or some type of content on any platform does constitute as labor in some form or another. The only real way to measure this is by the time spent creating it and what social capital can be exhumed from said creation. Simply put, how many likes and shares does it get in its general outreach? However, we need to see time spent creating and social capital as an arbitrary dichotomy. As humans, we value our work and put an emotional price tag on it. Creating this video and showing it off to the world holds an intense amount of mental value for me, and I can reasonably and rationally prove that this is my intellectual property. However, I don't tangibly own the idea of memes not being intellectual property by the mere idea of its ambiguity. In my opinion, I think memes work under the same sentiment. I see a lot of channels and videos discussing the origin of memes, but I always felt that it misses the forest for the trees. Sure, that information is interesting, but talking about the meme's inherent value matters way more than its origin. Where a meme ultimately leads and travels through our cultural conscious is way more important than holding on to the idea that we need to preserve its identity. When you create a variation of the lay monkey meme, you are just adding to that meme's cultural value and even intellectual value. Even if it is to be shared or taken to be put on another platform, you never had complete ownership of that idea to begin with. That is because no one ever did. Memes don't have a set intellectual or cultural origin. We can only trace where they were first posted or talked about, but the truth of their value is only observed, not experienced. No one really owns this meme, or even a variation or a take on it. I understand putting a watermark on some of these things for exposure's sake, but ardently doing it as protection from intellectual property, regardless if you know you're doing it or not, is antithetical and hypocritical to the nature of memes itself. Even under the fair use doctrine, memes as IP fall apart in the abstract. Memes are a constant derivative of their source. Memes in nature are never meant to withhold one ideal or idea, making it almost impossible to clear out ambiguity either morally or legally. Even those who monetize or create career opportunities out of creating memes will have ultimately faced this problem already. Subjugating memes to a legal and ethical binary is downright wrong and farcical. Memes, in a sense, are much bigger than that. They can hold tremendous amount of information or value that initially supersedes the labor and value of its original creator. And this is where we must tackle the moral conundrum of memes as intellectual property. Here's a fundamental question to ask. What is more important, preserving the creator versus the meme's cultural value? For the sake of my argument, I will be tackling the meme's cultural value. I'd like to preface that these things aren't mutually exclusive and could fall within a gray area of sorts. If the work of a meme is derivative to the point of having a connection to someone's identity made by that person, then yes, that discussion would be rightfully held, and I believe that there would be some type of recourse with that. However, I don't often see that myself, but if you do, please type in the comments and discuss if you've seen this phenomenon before. Memes have a cultural value outside of ourselves, especially now more than ever. In history, culture has never been so decentralized, meaning that contributors to culture aren't created via marketing or a trend set by one person or celebrity. For memes and language as a whole, the internet has completely opened up the possibilities of creation. All of us have the opportunity to create a meme and add tangible cultural value, and that could be by proxy of making something else entirely out of a meme. For the sake of argument, enriching the cultural zeitgeist of the 90s was an undertaking. You had to think so outside of the box within a strict occupation or identity, such as a musician or public figure. Culture was ultimately guided by what was marketable and the sentiment reflecting at the time, and more importantly, what was profitable.
I think he needs a little more attitude.
Oh yeah, bingo. There it is, right there. That's it.
I love it.
Memes as a vehicle for marketing is powerful if they are used correctly. People are most apprehensive to this because memes are so ambiguous as an abstract concept in culture. When we see a brand use a meme from 10 years ago as a form of marketing,
like a boss,
we know that it isn't some performative irony on their part. They are just trying to take advantage of an old cultural zeitgeist. Ultimately, the power dynamic has shifted for mass marketing in culture itself. They used to create culture, now culture is creating itself by how autonomous the internet can be. If you really observe it carefully, how many memes are spawned out of older images or something way too absurd to be created as a calculated marketing idea? Really, it is the chaos that creates this. Allowing this amount of unbridled creativity, good or bad, left unchecked, is what gave meme culture its identity over the past 5 or so years. If we allowed a centralization of this facet of culture to happen again, we'd only be going backwards. Implementing laws or pushing for more sanctions for creators would stifle the cultural and creative process, causing irreparable damage to how autonomous the internet is. Even for those doing it as a small time waster, holding on to your creation with the intent of it being a meme is useless. You should be happy that you were able to contribute to culture in a meaningful way now, and are alive to do so. The inherent cultural value of your creation should supersede your own sense of self-importance. Taking pride in that over your intellectual property should matter infinitely more. At no time in history are we able to produce such remarkable, yet at the same time such a stupid thing, that ultimately has such a large outreach. Memes, regardless of how you rationalize it, are abstract in value. Attaching yourself to a derivative work does not constitute it as your intellectual property, but as a universal idea in an unconscious sea of people communicating through these micro-expressions. As a small side tangent, when I see watermarks on memes, I understand why it's there, but it takes away from the creative and cultural process of memetics in general. It dilutes what memes ultimately came to be by making it more about social capital and exposing yourself and making yourself more available than creating something tangibly good for people to consume in a way. It is a form of art in a way, and having that identity can be integral to becoming something in this online space. But again, if you go into the abstract, memes are larger than us in a way. It is a communication and an idea in a very abstract form that not a lot of people can comprehend. While there is no harm in adding a watermark to your meme, I think we need to realize that intellectual property, especially in the realm of memetics, is obsolete. There is nothing wrong with crediting, but furthering memes as a medium is more important than preserving some sense of invisible hierarchy in the culture. I'm willing to argue that intellectual property in a broader sense should fade away as well, but that is for another time. We're in one of the most interesting times in history, so I implore people to just create without the expectation of getting something back in name recognition. Even if it is something as trivial as a meme, you're still communicating an idea that is tangential to this time and this period, and something that is going to reflect back on us. And really to expand the cultural lexicon of memetics as well. But I just want to preface to people who ever thought that memes could be intellectual property, this is my argument to them. And I certainly really don't believe in intellectual property as a whole, but when it comes to memetics, there's definitely no way that it could constitute as intellectual property, despite if it uses something that is intellectual property. Whether or not that we're in a good or bad time is ultimately up to you, but use your time wisely, and if creating memes is some form of catharsis for you, go ahead. Thank you. So I hope everybody enjoyed the video. This is kind of a new rebranding now. I'm just going to be using my face. I'm going to be using my big fat fucking pudgy face. My big fat pudgy face. Yeah, but I'm gonna be doing this kind of format now, so if I can get feedback on that, this is just gonna be a new thing, trying to get rid of the avatar. Not entirely, it'll be on my Twitter, but I think this is a good place to start for all of that, and trying to get more creative with how it looks instead of having an animal avatar. It's way outdated, and I think I can do way better than that. I hope I'm doing way better than that with this. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, do all those things that make me somewhat more watchable, I guess, to other people. And hopefully I can start doing this weekly again, or bi-weekly. I think I'll start doing more candid videos, just to fill the space when I can't. But yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for watching all the way through. Bye.